Until recently, it was thought that psychology and philosophy went hand in hand. Until the 1870s, when they became two separate and independent sciences. Since then, shocking facts about psychology began to be discovered. And amazing information about the human psyche, which studies have proven its complexity and the intersection of its components and elements. In this video, we will highlight some of the patterns you notice in yourself and others. From why you think food tastes better when made by a specific person, to why you sometimes see familiar human faces in inanimate objects like clouds. Number 1. If you have a backup plan, your original plan is unlikely to succeed. Sometimes, it may be better not to be too confident about the results. The feeling of danger is considered one of the most important reasons that drives us to be accurate and avoid making mistakes. In a series of experiments conducted by the University of Pennsylvania, the researchers found that when volunteers thought of a backup plan before starting a particular task, their performance was worse than those who did not think of any alternative plan. Also, when they realized they had other options, their motivation to succeed decreased significantly, compared to volunteers who did not have any options. Therefore, researchers confirmed that thinking about the future is a good idea. But you may achieve greater success if you keep these plans vague and content yourself with the present. Number 2, fear can sometimes be a source of happiness. When you watch a scary movie or try one of the inflatable rides at an amusement park, your brain then secretes amounts of adrenaline, in addition to endorphins and dopamine, which are hormones responsible for happiness. It is true that you are afraid then, but your mind is fully aware that you are not really in danger. Thus, it keeps these hormones at a normal level, which in turn makes you feel excited and happy. Number 3, yawning is social media. Have you ever wondered why you yawn when you see someone else yawning? The reason behind yawning itself is still a mystery. The same applies to being contagious. But some scientists believe that yawning when seeing others yawn is only a way to increase bonding and communication with members of the same species in animals, as is the case in humans. This explanation may seem absurd today. However, this may have been a true means of communication in the past, when ancient man was not yet able to communicate in a clear spoken language. Number 4, people tend to be more affected by the tragedy of one person than by the tragedy of a group. In another study conducted at the University of Pennsylvania, the researchers presented one group with a case of a young girl who was starving to death, while they showed another group statistics regarding millions of people who die from hunger. Finally, they showed a third group both conditions. People volunteered for the experiment when they heard about the little girl's suffering, more than double what they donated when they heard about the suffering of millions of people. Even the group that heard about the girl's tragedy in the context of the larger tragedy donated less than that. Psychologists believe that we are obligated to help the person in front of us. But when the problem seems too big, we see that our small role does not do much, which reduces our incentive to help. Number 5, one negative thought for every 5 positive thoughts. Our brains have what's called a negativity bias that makes us remember bad news more than good. This is why you quickly forget that your coworker complimented your presentation, but you keep thinking about an insult you suffered from someone. Psychologists say you need 5 positive things. For every negative thing, you can feel balanced in your life. This means that the number of positive things in your life is much greater than the negative things, don't you think? Need some positivity? Number 6, food tastes better when someone makes it. Have you ever wondered why you like the taste of that sandwich you eat at a restaurant? About the ones you make at home, even if you use the same ingredients? The reason behind this is simple: prepare a meal for yourself. It requires you to stand for a long time to prepare and cook it, which reduces your ability and appetite for food. Therefore, you will not feel good about its taste when eating it. Number 7, the mind prefers knowing the worst rather than not knowing the future. He found some researchers who published their work in the journal Nature. It is less stressful for the human mind to know that something negative is about to happen than to not know what will happen at all. For example, we prefer to know that we will not succeed in getting a particular job. Then we continue to think that there is even a small possibility that we will be accepted. The reason for this is the part of the brain that predicts consequences, whether good or bad. He is most active when he does not know what to expect. In other words, having the worst happen is less impactful and mentally stressful than waiting for the unknown. Number 8. The human mind is programmed to return the favor. There is a rule in psychology called the rule of reciprocity. This rule indicates that giving back is not just a moral issue. Rather, we are programmed to want to help someone who has already helped us. Some psychologists claim that this trait was developed over time to maintain the community and make it work smoothly as people encourage themselves to help each other. This psychological trick is often used in various stores. It offers customers free gifts to make them feel the need to return the favor and buy some of its products. Number 9. Our minds are programmed to follow the choices that others make. In a famous experiment conducted in the 1950s, a group of college students were asked to indicate which of the 3 lines drawn was the same length as the 4th line. The researchers found that when a student hears the answers of other students participating in the experiment, even if it is clearly wrong, he follows them and gives the same wrong answer. Perhaps this is why you often choose the same meals as your friend when you go to a restaurant for lunch. Number 10. Our favorite topic to talk about is ourselves. Don't blame your friend who indulges in talking about himself. It's just the way his human brain works. According to a Harvard study, the reward centers in our brains light up. It shines brighter when we talk about ourselves than when we talk about other people. Let's be honest, we all like to talk about our feelings, our own thoughts, and our life experiences. There is no harm in that, but let us be careful not to make our conversation a matter of boasting and ostentation. Let us give others an opportunity to speak for themselves as well. Number 11. Multitasking is just an illusion. One of the most surprising pieces of information in psychology is that the skill of multitasking is an illusion. Research published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology shows that even when you think you're doing 2 things at once, what you are actually doing is switching quickly between the 2 tasks, which means you stay focused on one task at a time. So no wonder it's hard to listen to your friend talking to you while browsing social media. Here you are actually doing 2 tasks at the same time. Number 12. We involuntarily believe what we want to believe. Humans fall victim to something called confirmation bias, which means the tendency to interpret facts in a way that confirms what we already believe. So, no matter how many facts you throw at your friend in an attempt to influence his or her opinions on a particular issue, there is a high probability that he will never change his views. It's one of those facts in psychology that you just have to accept that you can't change. This will save you a lot of trouble when you realize that you do not have to change anyone. Do not advise anyone unless they ask you to do so, because then he will have truly had the desire to change, otherwise he would not have turned to you for advice. Number 13. Our minds want us to be lazy. Evolutionarily speaking, our brains consider conserving energy to be good for survival. When food was scarce, our ancestors had to be prepared for anything and conserve energy for periods of food shortages. According to a study published in the journal Current Biology, when exercising and using a treadmill, volunteers automatically adjust their gait to burn fewer calories. Realizing this makes you more able to control yourself and your thoughts to achieve your dreams and goals. When you realize that your mind prefers laziness, you will begin to ignore that inner voice that may ask you to give up any extra effort. You will work harder to stay active and motivated. Number 14. Multiple choices will paralyze you. We do not mean here physical paralysis, of course, but rather paralysis of thoughts. Researchers have provided a lot of evidence that our brains prefer a few options over a large number of options in what is known as the paradox of choice theory. An experiment was conducted on a group of buyers in a store. The researchers found that when customers found many different types of a particular product, their willingness to buy this product was less than in the case of products with fewer types. Number 15, our minds will always make up problems. Have you ever wondered why a new problem appears every time you overcome an obstacle or challenge in your life? This does not mean that the world is against you, but it certainly means that your mind is against you. This is not surprising if you take into account all the previous psychological facts. The human mind, as we know, does not like to be ignorant of the future. He would rather have something negative happen than not know what will happen. In addition, he is often biased toward negative thinking and bad thoughts. All of these things will always make him create problems. After overcoming each problem, he will naturally tend to expect a new one instead of imagining more positive and joyful things.